She look good?
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm going to do a bike check today on my Ibis Ripmo 2. This is the bike of choice for this year's EWS. So the Ripmo 2 is pretty new for me because last year I rode 650B, which is the HD5. Just felt super comfortable on that bike and probably didn't really put enough time into riding the Ripmo, but also I was riding the small, which just meant I never quite got comfortable on it myself and like never felt like I could take it to a race and push it. But I'm on the medium now, I'm feeling much more comfortable and really excited to get racing on it and see what it can do. Last year there's been some adaptations, that's why this is the Ripmo 2. It's got a slightly slacker head angle and the suspension's more progressive, so like won't be getting as harsh bottom outs and things like that, which is really important for when we're racing. Unlike a lot of frames, the Ripmo, it has bushings rather than bearings. I'm sure there's lots of science and stuff behind that, but I'll let you go read elsewhere because I don't know. I'll start from the top, will I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to my cockpit. This is where the pilot steers the plane. I'll start off from the outside in. I run the Lizard Skins Danny McCaskill grips. Pretty thin grips because I got little baby sausage fingers. I struggle to feel like I've got a good grip on the bike, and when you're going on long descents you kind of need to be relaxed on your grip, not too squeezing and too tight, and that's with a nice little bit of engraved name there. I'm running a carbon one-up components handlebar, and my handlebar is pretty skinny actually. I run 740mm, which sometimes even feels a little bit too wide. So the reason for doing that is because we ride such tight twisty trails and you do have to stay pretty tucked in. Like when we go up to an Aleathan, I'd probably even run slightly narrower if I could. Comment below, I want to know what everyone else runs on bar width because it's quite a big hot topic actually. Oh yeah, the bar's 35mm clamp, nice and stiff. So I'm running one-up components stem as well. This is 35mm. I quite like the feel of being I like a super short stem. I've tried a 50mm and I don't know, it just puts me in a really weird position. Also, while we're on the topic of one-up, got the one-up tool. At the moment I've just got the tool in there, but when I'm racing I'll have a CO2 on the end. Super useful for not having to carry too much on my body, which is good. That just slots in there. My stopping power comes from XTR, Shimano XTRs, which have never missed a beat. When you get them running good and running sweet, they are really good. The only adaptation we do on the XTR brakes is that we cut the fins off the pads, and it's basically, it kind of stops a bit of noise, which is super useful because when you're racing, if your bike makes noise, you kind of a little bit you lose focus and you're thinking more about your bike than the trail and racing stuff. Pretty standard to run a 203 rotor at the front. Got centre lock rotors, which makes it super easy for travel because it's just one tool. On the back I run the same, got 203 on the back. I'll be honest, the main reason is so that I don't have a million rotors at my house, or it's super easy if you break one, you can swap it over to the other. So another thing about my setup for where I hold on and use the controls is that I'm pretty specific on where I want my bike point. So my brakes are a little bit different on each side, so usually my front brake's a little bit further across. And it'll actually change every race I go to, just depending on how sore my wrists are or what the terrain's like. So I'll faff with that quite a lot, much to my mechanic's annoyance really. Another thing is that I run my shifter super far out. Most people that jump on my bike actually get their thumb stuck when they try and change gear, but that's basically because when I'm riding and racing, when you're changing gear and you're also riding something technical, I really hate the feeling of taking some pressure off the handlebar when you're trying to control the bike. So I like to make it so that I can literally slot my thumb in there and click it. My cockpit gets finished off and tidied up by this lovely pipe housing, I think it is. Mechanic Giacomo puts that on and it just makes the bike look a lot tidier, and it stops quite a lot of noise when you're riding rough trails. If you can tidy them up as good as you can, it makes the bike look pretty good if you ask me. So we're using bike yoke dropper post this year, which is new for us. I've only been on it for a couple of months, but so far I've not had any issues, which is really good for dropper posts because they take a beating. Using a 165 drop, I can get my little stumpy legs over it and it's not too high out of the frame. The one thing I have done on the trail, which is really cool, it's got a self-bleeding thing, so you can just, on the trail, you can just open up a little Allen key, self-bleed it, you literally just cycle it through and then yeah, it was working super good after I did that on the trail the other day, which is cool. I'm sitting my bum on a lovely fabric saddle, which fabric have been really good actually in terms of helping me choose the right saddle. I've managed to find this one, which is 142mm wide for my big bum.
Hello.
So we're on Fox suspension, which we just did our first Fox camp this year, which was really, really useful to like get some proper advice and stuff and like set them up really well, which was great. Still dialing in the setup, and we're on the new Fox suspension, which is getting tested all year, and then in 2021 is available for the public. So yeah, Fox 38 fork, which is obviously they've had the 36, which is what everyone raced last year. So the 38 is super like obvious shout out that it should be in endurance, seeing as our tracks are getting more and more gnarly and like everyone's searching for a stiffer fork. At the moment it's a very new relationship between me and this fork, so we're still getting to know each other. The fact that it's got a pinch bolt at the front and not like a quick release, you can definitely feel it is stiffer. I've definitely felt more comfortable like on off camber stuff and like being able to put the wheel exactly where you want it and it feeling like it's staying there, so getting on with it so far, and I just want to get racing it, to be honest. My fork is 90 psi, which is pretty drastically different from last year. Last year on the Fox 36s, it was between 69 and 72. I quite like a stiff fork. The feeling of diving is something that I just really hate and like just messes up my cornering and everything. I'm running 11 clicks of low speed compression, 7 clicks of high speed compression, 9 low speed rebound, 7 high speed rebound. 2 volume spacers. Yes, so far I've definitely bottomed the forks out, but you should be bottoming your forks out. So my shock, I'm running 180 psi in the shock, which is pretty high, but I'm pretty heavy I suppose. Low speed compression 13 clicks, high speed compression 8 clicks, low speed rebound 13, high speed rebound 6. It's got a special lighter tune on here, which we did at the Fox camp, and it's also got no volume spacers, which is great. Like always got the option if, I don't know, if you start riding harder or just like if the track's got super loads of compressions and stuff on it, I can put one in and test out if that feels better, which is good, always to have that option. I'm running XTR, Shimano XTR drivetrain. Crankset's got a new way of installing it, which is pretty cool. You just need an 8mm Allen key, which is nice. It's not got the pinch bolts anymore. And you've got this little ring that puts some tension on the system. Running the stage cycling power meter, which is pretty cool. Not used it too much yet, it's still pretty early days with it, but yeah, just basically see how much bloody power I've got, you know. So I'm running the 1045 cassette. Basically the reason for that is the bigger cassette, which is the 51, you've got to use the long cage mech, which is just a little bit risky for racing. Like we have a lot of rocks flying up, or you have super tight stuff to get through, and my mechanic tells me quite often that I come back into the pits with a bent mech hanger, so we're not going to take that risk and just run the smaller one, and I just have a lot smaller chainring basically. I'm running a 30 chainring. This ratio of gears works really well for me. Obviously if we do a race that's super flat out, I'd change that and put a big one on. Running the One Up chain guide, which has been great. We've used that for the last 2 years and we're about to go into another year of using it. It's got a nice little bash guard underneath, which I've definitely used lots of times. Running the Shimano Saint pedal. Reason for this and not using the XTR one is just it's got a bit more of a platform, so when I come unclipped in a techie section or something like that, or by accident, I can slam my foot back on, and if it doesn't go straight in, I've got a bit more of a platform to just keep riding it out until there's a better bit of trail to put it back in. I'm running alloy Ibis rims. Alloy's new for me actually. I've always, in the last 4 years of doing EWS, I've ran carbon rims, really enjoying the feel of them, and yeah, the Ibis alloy wheels are running great. So we're running Maxxis tyres. I'm pretty set on my setup unless the conditions change. I like to run a Minion DHF front and rear. I'll always run a double down on the front unless it's super gnarly. Always max grip. On the back I run a downhill casing. If I'm just at home training or whatever, I'll probably run a double down, but when I'm racing, always a downhill on the back. Again, max grip on the back for me. I'd rather lose a little bit on rolling speed but gain on confidence and just knowing that I can hit into something and have the grip there. So my go-to tyre pressure is 21 in the front. When I'm at home, I'll sometimes run about 18 in the front, but I go up a little bit for racing just for security. Then in the back 23 psi with a protective insert, just to make sure I finish the race usually. So when I'm racing, I like to carry as little as possible on my body because it's usually got food on it. So I carry a tube strapped on with just this little strap, Velcro strap. I've got a 1-up pump, which is super useful, like, because anywhere I go I know I've got a tube and I've got a pump attached. And also the new fabric bottle cages, not yet available I believe, but they're really good, side loading, so super good if you've got not much space to have a bottle. Running a custom Gowaan mud hugger, which always makes me smile when I look down. So that's my bike, my complete race bike. I'm sure it'll change a little bit over the race season as I bed it in a bit more. If there's anything else you want to know about it, just comment below and make sure you subscribe.